So let's move on to the waterfall. It's this small block right here, and that's the sequential OB6. And maybe I'm just working slowly, but this took me a really, really long time to make, because I had this sound in my head, and for some reason, my first few attempts, it just didn't sound right. It didn't sound like the sound I had in my head. So at first I tried to play it manually on the keyboard, like on the OB6, and it was too difficult. So I punch in these keys by MIDI, one at a time, and move the notes around somewhat, and finally, by also adjusting the filters on the OB6, I got this. Let's hear it in isolation. Yeah. So, and on top of that, I also, well, this would be the second automation I did, which was like a stereo automation going from one speaker to the other speaker. So let's have a look at the effects on this one. I use distortion. Maybe I could just try to turn these off. As far as I can see, I have inserts on this sense, so let's listen to it cleanly. I mean, it still sounds like it's somewhat compressed, right? So it's going to the pre-group. So that might have something to do with it, because the pre-group, actually there's no compress on this one, but there's a lot of stuff on the master bus. So that I guess that could account for the compressed sound. But let's look at the effects on this one. Starting with the inserts, I have a distortion. I can try to engage it halfway through. Okay, let's hear it again with the distortion. So this is the built-in distortion. And I mean, I don't have a very scientific way of like using or explaining these parameters. I mean, I know what they do, but sometimes I just play with the parameters until I get something that sounds right. And then there's spring reverb here. So this is one of the few where I actually employed like a spring reverb simulation. Especially the last part of the sound I really like with this effect on it. Sounds pretty what you call trashy. And then there's the sense right here. It's going to an echo. Is that the SDD echo maybe? No, it's the Echo Boy Junior. So let's make a loop here. It's this one. For some reason, I don't know why, if I just solo the track, the Echo Boy Junior was muted. This is a pretty simple effect, right? I mean, this Echo Boy, I have the full version, like the Echo Boy effect machine, delay machine, echo machine. For some reason, I mostly enjoy using this Junior because it's so simple, and maybe, I don't know, 90% of the time, I just need something very simple. I know what I'm after. Maybe it's a tape delay, maybe it's kind of like a memory man delay. So I don't want to get all these options. I just need this, and sometimes it's just like a stand-in effect until I later track it with like a real tape echo. So I really like this Junior version a lot. But actually this waterfall effect, it's part of what makes this sound, but there's another sound underneath it. As you can hear, but that's a different place in the arrangement, and I'll come to that later. Okay, so one of the percussion instruments I also use in this remix is the DFAM, the Moog DFAM, and one of them is like an 8th percussion rhythm that starts like halfway in. Let's take a listen. So this kind of acts like a drummer's cymbal, and it's also like a white noise sound that just gives it this, like it's making the remix more alive, you might say. I can try to play a section of it and mute it, and then you can hear the difference. It's quite a big difference. Yeah. I mean, it's not that obvious in this section, but here it just makes some noise pulses underneath. Space to be filled with love. A silent star. Sometimes the magic ingredient can be stuff that you don't hear. Like it's there, but you don't hear it. Like it's just an undercurrent that kind of glues it together. Let's move on. So we have a track here called Deep Rhythm, That's also the DFAM, and it starts from the kind of the beginning. That's here. So this one I automated the volume. This comes from my early sessions with just experimenting with the DFAM and other of my gadgets, just to make up sounds like Kraftwerk style, or just have this mad professor lab. And when I got to this sound, I instantly had it. This should be kind of like one of the main ingredients for at least some part of the remix, because it was so, like, what do you call it? Like in Danish you say atonalt, like it's not tonally, like it hasn't got a lot of tonal information in it, and it's kind of like clubby, like vibey, like in a strange way that I have. And it's also not very much me. Usually I don't make this kind of noise, so I was kind of drawn to it because it was some foreign element for my productions at least. So I really wanted to explore that, and it ended up being a very like integral part of the remix. And actually this sound led me down the path of doing this. Some people might say that this intro is very long for the remix, but I really liked it, and actually it was longer, but in conversation with Hunbjørn, we kind of agreed that it should be a little bit shorter, and I cut it a little bit shorter, but originally it was even longer. And I kind of like sometimes to challenge the listeners, like because I mean I know about all these rules, like for pop music at least, like how long should the intro be, how many verses, how many choruses, how many pre-choruses, and so on, and it shouldn't be more than 3 minutes and 30 seconds approximately, and all that stuff. But yeah, I like challenging the listeners, but it's also like a fine line, because I mean at some point the listeners just say like, forget about it, it's just it's not like a challenge, it's just boring. So you kind of need to like think about that. And this sound stems from as far as I remember, a long session of exploring. So if you expand this, there's just a lot of other stuff going on that I didn't use. Okay, so this is because I've automated the volume, so the volume is just down, right? So I need to pull that up. So I did a lot of this stuff, and I just used the parts I enjoyed and that fitted into this remix. Okay, so the last track in this section is Explosions. Let's see what that's about. We've got one of them right here. Let's take a listen. So this is the DFAM as well. I have two other kinds of explosions here that are muted. At some point we can hear how they sound. But this actually might be a copy of this one. And I also have several versions. Yeah, you get the idea, right? So yeah, so this one is kind of quiet. But again, it's one of those. It's because it's been filtered, right? It still adds to the mood of the track, I think. Okay, so let's focus on the vocals for a bit. It's in this stems folder. So these are the stems that I got from Hunbjørn, and this is the vocal. So maybe not pretty early on, but at some point, I just felt that this remix needed more space. So also to make it my own, because Hunbjørn's interpretations of her own songs are really great, and that's her universe. I see it as pretty vocal driven, so there's a lot of vocals, and pretty early on, I just realized that in order for me to make some room for my production and my sounds and the whole universe, I needed to and also to put my personal take on it. And bring it in a different direction. I started to cut her vocals, and I actually cut them pretty coarse on purpose, so the edits are pretty rough. I mean, it's supposed to sound like it's cut up, like you put a scissor to a tape, right? Yeah, so it sounds like this, and after I did that, I put it through my Roland Space Echo.
I see you find your truth in this. And all the rest.
Let's hear the echo on its own. And one of the interesting things is that I actually just acquired this bass echo up until I started this remix. And the tape that was in it was kind of worn out. And especially the edit point, like where it's edited, wasn't very perfect. So you can it's pretty obvious where the edit on the tape loop is, and you can actually hear it in the remix. At first, I was like, I have to do this again. I have to fix this. But after a while, I just realized that it was kind of cool and unique. So I kept it in. Yeah, so I found the place where the tape edit is pretty obvious. It's just around this point. So let's have a listen. So this is where the tape loop on my space echo, the edit passes the playback heads, right? So you can hear the difference. All right. The last thing about the vocals that I can talk about is just this small section right here where I just reversed the vocals. So it was just like this small block of vocals that I reversed by going into Cubase's editor, reversing it. Let's hear it again. I mean, it's not like it's rocket science, but it's also a nod back to like old Beatles recordings and stuff like that. Just these simple techniques just to make some interest. Let's hear it by itself. Well, that was it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Yeah, and as I mentioned in the beginning, if you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate you supporting this channel by subscribing. And you can also mention in the comments if you would like to see more of these kinds of remix videos, and also like I can make like production videos, like synthesizer, retro music production in general, and also focusing on some of my gadgets and synthesizers if you're into that sort of thing. So please let me know in the comments, and apart from that, see you later.